This is Mabel here, 28F, and I really want to seek some advice from all of you guys. It is about my older sister, Diana, 30F. Sit tight because you're in for a ride. Today marks May 14th, and it's supposed to be my wedding day, but things happened, and one of them was that my sister had lied about my fiancé having an affair with her. Shocking, right? That a sister could do that to her own blood. Before you begin to have so many ideas, let me tell you a little bit about my sister, Diana. She's family's bad apple that fell from the tree. I grew up hearing my parents, most especially my mother, complain so much about her. Some days, it could be her grades in school, other times, it could be how she was dressed, and so on. Since she was the elder one, she considered herself to be the entitled one. Right from childhood, she had set some ground rules in the house, that she had the first right over everything. As a younger daughter, I was used to playing with Diana's toys and wearing her clothes. But she continued to be the narcissistic child even as a grown-up adult. Diana was never good at academics. She dropped out of school midway. She also had a thing for money, so she had multiple boyfriends who would cater to her expensive needs. Diana struggled to choose the right career path for her. I never blamed Diana for being confused about her path in life because I knew that not everyone has clarity in their life. My parents bugged her about various things she could go into, but she saw it more as a threat and as a way to compare the two of us. I initially thought my parents were being too harsh on her. She just needed a little bit of love and, well, guidance, but I see Diana now, and I think, maybe they were right. On the other hand, I was always an understanding child, as per my mom. I was an average student in school, but I was interested in fashion. I used to look up designs online and tried to replicate them on my own. My father was the first to notice my liking for fashion in my senior year. He pushed me to do something about it, and I applied to fashion school, and it kickstarted my career. I moved out of my house and started living independently after my last year in college. I moved from Seattle to New York. The Big Apple, to meet the right people, but most importantly, to find a new environment. After I moved, my parents pestered Diana to take her life seriously. Tired of my mother's ramblings, Diana left the house and showed up at my door. It was all a shock to me when I woke up one morning, and there she was, standing at my door with her things. She is my sister. Older, for that matter, I cannot abandon my family when they need me. Guess I was the only one who thought family was important. Diana did not chase any endeavors or try to put herself out there for a job. Instead, she would spend the entire day at home, watching Keeping Up with the Kardashian reruns. At night, she would go clubbing or restaurant hopping with her new superficial fancy friends. It was ridiculous. I tried to subtly tell her that she needed to be financially independent and to stop thinking that I would always be there to provide her with every need of money. I wasn't her only source of income. Her rich on and off boyfriend, Frederick, was also present to always help her out. I say on and off again because they are something. Initially, I thought she had moved in to get rid of our parents, but the actual reason was her boyfriend, Frederick. His father's company was opening a new outlet in New York. Hence he moved so that he could take care of it. Of course, my pushover sister couldn't leave him alone, so she followed him. However, Frederick was living in his company's quarter, where Diana couldn't go, or else Frederick would be reported to his father. So, she had no option but to show up at my door. It's more than 2 years since she is freeloading at my house, but the actual problem which brought me here is my fiancé, Lucas. See, I have always thought that I would be unlucky in love. This is probably because I have been hit with heartbreak from left to right. It started with my boyfriend in high school, who used me for popularity and never took me seriously. My boyfriend in college was not good enough either. He took solace in other women's underwear. I craved love, especially seeing how my parents were. The support, unconditional love, and everything else. I wanted it. In New York, everywhere I looked, I saw a couple happy, thrilled to bask in each other's presence, but for me, I was all alone. Amidst all, I met Lucas Din, 30M. He was the sweetest of them all, the most beautiful, the smartest. I was immediately intrigued by those honest eyes. We maintained eye contact for a while, hoping that someone would smile. It wasn't the first time meeting a hot, gorgeous guy. It was in New York. We had handsome men swimming around the city, but I wasn't interested, mainly because half of them were not good for me and only wanted sex. Lucas and I conversed first about our sibling stories. Before he walked up to me, I was going through the grocery list Diana had written, and she had put down half of the world for me to buy. She had added some fancy items which literally twisted my tongue to pronounce. Lucas caught me talking to myself and immediately chuckled. He explained that he was also going through the same thing with his younger sister, Ellie, 16F, who was in high school. He was shopping for women's items. I had thought it was for a girlfriend, but it was for his sister, Ellie. He accompanied me to do the rest of my grocery as we spoke more about how adulthood is not great. He had offered to pay for my items, but I couldn't accept them. Darn it, I'm just too independent. He had also disclosed that Ellie had suffered an assault last year and grew a fear of the public afterward. Lucas was trying to be there for her. He let her come live with him because she felt unsafe at their parents' place. I was impressed. Lucas and I had so much in common. We were both parents to our siblings. And there it started. The whirlwind of romance. I had almost forgotten how beautiful it was to have someone love you, love every part of you. Lucas was just that kind of person. On May 23rd of last year, we started dating. It was the most effortless relationship I had. But it was hard for Diana to get along with Lucas. She would give unwelcome comments about anything involving him. Lucas did his best to be nice to her by getting her favorite chocolate and even a designer bag, knowing she loved fancy items. Diana did not care. I eventually called Diana out on her disrespectful behavior toward Lucas. She explained that she was just worried she would lose me to him. She was just feeling insecure. She was worried about how life would be for her if I was more serious with Lucas. She knew that we were gradually getting serious. I told her I loved her dearly and promised nothing would make me abandon her. Huh? That's what I thought. I thought my sister would carry the same love and respect I had for her, but no. A few months later, Lucas proposed to me. I said yes. I told him a million yeses. The engagement was set. My best friend, Bonnie, 30F, had taken the part of the wedding planner because she was an expert on me. Everyone was pleased that I had found the right one, including my mom, who initially thought I would end up with millions of cats. Joke's on her. I have found the right one. Little did I know that the happiness would not last. Diana had cooked up a dubious plan to cut off my engagement. I got to Lucas's apartment, ready for us to go cake tasting with Bonnie, but what I saw was crazy. Lucas had his hands all over my sister. It seemed he was trying to kiss her, and Diana wanted to let go of him. Diana was distraught. She was pulled away and slapped him in the face. Lucas was apparently drunk or rather woozy. In tears, Diana had explained that she wanted to make amends with Lucas for how she treated him during family dinner. Lucas had been showing advances toward Diana. Diana said she wanted Lucas to stop doing it and respect our relationship. She also showed me the handwritten letters that Lucas had sent her. I read one of them, and it was of debauchery behavior. Lucas had fantasized about her body and wanted to desperately sleep with her. He had written, "I love you with all of my heart if you could only see that I want your body next to mine. I hope that marrying your sister will give way for our romance to build up. God, I want that body." There, I believed Diana had no reason to lie. I stormed out of the apartment. Bonnie had told me to reconsider my attempts to break up and listen to him when he sobered up. I agreed. I needed to hear his own side of the story. He had shown up at the house after I had refused to respond to his messages and calls. The first thing I gave him was a slap to the face. I later threw the letters addressed to Diana in his face. I hated that he feigned innocence after he read them. His face turned red, and he denied having sent those letters to Diana. He said that Diana unexpectedly showed up at his apartment with a bottle of wine and some dessert, which he didn't remember. She told Lucas that she wanted to mend their relationship since we were getting married, and it was her gesture for a new bond. Lucas happily agreed, and they both drank from that wine bottle. Lucas said it was jinxed, and he realized it in the first sip, but Diana insisted that it was an original homemade wine that her friend had gifted her. So Lucas didn't bother and drank it all. He said that after a glass, he quite doesn't remember what happened next, except some hazy shadow where Diana forced him to finish the bottle and made him feel her body. He said that although he had almost passed out but tried to stop Diana, who overpowered him after a while, and he doesn't remember what happened next. I rolled my eyes and told him I wasn't falling for his so-called victim story. Lucas pleaded and pleaded for me to reconsider. I was done. Diana's plan had worked. I broke up my engagement with him. Lucas pleaded one last time that I listened to him, and I swore that my sister was the most essential part of my life. Little did I know what was the true story. Lucas was relentless with his calls and text messages. He never ceased to let me know the truth. He still maintained the stance that he had nothing to do with my sister. I just wanted to heal. It was impossible to do so. Everyone asked me what had happened between Lucas and me. I could have easily said that Lucas was only using me to get to my sister, but I was not the type to tarnish someone's image. It wasn't my place to do so. The society would find out on their own what had happened. Lucas eventually stopped reaching out, and I heard he had taken a trip to clear his head. A part of me wanted him to plead that I forget everything that happened. I knew it was not possible. I wasn't the kind to give second chances anymore. A few weeks later, Diana began to undergo troubles of her own. Diana's boyfriend, Frederick, was a pompous fool. Although they had been going on and off, I knew my sister seriously loved him. Despite her attempts to try to hook up with someone else or to meet another person to spite him, he was always the one for her. You know, the kind of couple that yell at each other 1 second and start to make out like animals. They would throw things at each other, scream, cry. But I knew that they were meant to be. It was just that kind of relationship. I was already used to it. This time, it was getting too toxic, and I'm glad it was because I finally knew the truth. One fateful night, I was just nursing my heartbreak by drinking with Bonnie. We heard Diana yelling at Frederick that she needed a ring on her finger. He had responded that he was not getting married anytime soon and would not be pressured because of her. She expressed that she was tired of living with me and wanted her own house. By her own house, she meant her husband's. Basically, the conversation went like this. Frederick cried out, "Oh, I thought you loved your sister." Diana responded, "Of course I do." Frederick gave back, "Oh, such love that you ruined her chances of happiness." At that point, guys, I was intrigued. I wanted to know what he was talking about. I thought about coming out of hiding to ask him what he meant, but Bonnie gave me a signal to stay right in my hiding spot. Diana had responded to her crazy boyfriend, "Oh please, that man could not ever make her happy." Diana went crazy and increased her voice, "I don't care if he wanted to give her the world. I am the one meant to get married early. I am the one who is old enough too. Just because she has a house and a career doesn't mean she deserves to have something that I cannot have. Like, what is wrong with this girl?" At that point, I needed to come out. It sounded as though my sister had been resentful towards me. Where did all this malice come from? Despite Bonnie's attempts to hold me back, I moved away from the door and barged in. Frederick's face was red, and my sister's hypocritical. She had tried to pull up a wry smile. Frederick glanced at Diana, waiting for her to explain. Diana was shaking at first, then flipped like a demon-possessed her a jealous, selfish monster. That's when I was convinced that she had done something sketchy. I glanced back at Diana, who had a frown on her face but had no words coming out of her mouth. Frederick let the news known. Diana had lied about Lucas and the fact that he had sent those personal letters. I was livid. Especially when Frederick said he had paid a sketch artist to forge Lucas's handwriting to write those letters. Diana pounced on Frederick immediately. He pushed her back and revealed how Diana begged him to help her break my engagement. Usually, I would try to separate both of them, but I could care less. I had been living a facade. My sister was not an angel, and I had just let go of the man I loved for her. I had bombarded her with questions. It almost turned physical. She yelled that she did not care much about me or my life. She had only been using me because she could not do anything with her life. I chased both of them out of my house. Frederick left the house immediately, but this spoilt princess refused to leave. The neighbors were already peeping from their window, hearing our screams. To save me from trouble, Bonnie took me to her place, a few blocks away. It's been a week since then. I have almost flooded Bonnie's house with my tears. Meanwhile, Bonnie picked up my essentials from my apartment and insisted I stay with her for a few weeks. She has taken work from home to spend time with me. I'm not sure if Diana has left the house or not. But seriously, at this point, I don't have the energy to deal with her. In fact, I don't care about her right now. I'm worried about how I get back, Lucas. After I did it to him, I didn't think an apology would work. Any advice is highly appreciated. Update 1, guys, you would not believe it. On days like this, I wished I was a crazy person that could react harshly. You know how they say people feel bad about their actions? It's actually a lie. Diana did not care once about how I felt. Bonnie said that she always knew that Diana had malicious intentions for me. She did try to caution me but didn't say anything outrightly because of the immense sisterly love I had. It hurt that I was the only one who felt that way. The first thing I wanted to do after hearing about the betrayal was to get Lucas. Bad luck hit again. Lucas was in the company of a woman I recognized as his ex. He had spoken a lot about the woman. They could never be together because of her parents' problems. It seemed as though they were reconciling. I told Lucas about all of my sister's schemes and apologized profusely. Lucas understood I didn't believe him, but he claimed he needed space away from me. Word had gotten out that he was playing the two Wales sisters, and there was a lot of discrimination in town. He needed to heal. I didn't know what that meant, but something told me he would move on to bigger and better things. I was back in square one, without a partner. I know I might sound evil, but I don't care. I feel vindictive. I want Diana to suffer in the same way as I did. Although she moved out of the house when I returned from Bonnie's place, I want to destroy her. Update 2. Okay, I guess I have to start this with an apology. I've been going through a lot. Last month was the day I was supposed to get married to Lucas, who is now seeking healing. For days, I've been wallowing in my sadness. I had ignored calls from my workers, Bonnie, and everyone. My pillows were constantly tear-soaked. And Diana. Oh, Diana, she had barged into my apartment last week, asking for money for her shopping spree. A shopping spree? While my life was practically ruined. Where was her humanity? She said that whatever money she had saved, from the pocket money I gave her, she had paid for her motel rent, and now she wanted money for shopping and the rest of the things. She maintained that crazy entitlement. She needed to be taught a lesson. I had thought about a million ways to pay my sister for her wickedness. Nothing serious comes to mind. Then I thought about one thing. Money. Money was what went around in Diana's world. That's why she wanted to get married. She wanted to have the best clothes and styles in the world. She didn't care if the world was ending. The money in her account was all that was important. So I cut her off. God, you should have seen her when I said I was cutting her off. She screamed like a child who was having a tantrum. Diana did not give up. She had tried to get money from my bank account to cash a check. I was quicker. I called the bank to restrict her from getting money. Diana didn't plead for the first time, she still maintained her pride. I decided to give her a taste of her medicine. She claimed she needed the money to pay for something important. She said she had broken up with Frederick and had no one else but me who could help her. The act of providing for her ended. My older sister, who was meant to be with me, support me, and take care of me. She had ruined my life. She broke up my engagement just because she wanted to get married first. She barged out of the house, fuming in anger. After a week, she again showed up. She was much more sober this time and pleaded with me to help her. She said she was so desperate for money that she tried reconciling with Frederick. However, Frederick called it quits because he had apparently found love with someone else. I wanted Diana to feel half of what I felt. Diana pleaded that he reconsider and think about the years that they had been together. He eventually left her. Seeing Diana in pain about losing the one person she loved gave me no joy, but it was good karma. What goes around comes around. Diana pleaded. It was the first time I had seen her beg so much. I was concerned. Was it just a front? She broke down in front of me while narrating her breakup. She asked me if she could move in with me again. I told her that I could not support her in any way after what she had done to me. She tried to emotionally blackmail me into thinking that I was her last resort and that she would have to sleep on the streets on an empty stomach if I didn't rescue her. I handed over some grands to her and told her that was what I could do for her for the sake of humanity. I still didn't forgive her. Neither will I be able to forgive her until I move on. It's been a month since I met her last. Last week, my mom called me. I told her everything that Diana had done to me, and she apologized to me on Diana's behalf. She said that Diana was getting what she deserved. She is currently working as a saleswoman in a showroom, and her boss is giving her a hard time in her life. Of course, no one wants a lazy employee, right? As for me, I don't know when I'll be able to move on, if at all. Wish me luck. Now on to the next story. Story 2. I caught my wife cheating with her boss's husband, so I'm married to her ex-best friend. My wife, 27F, and I, 24M, met at the Burning Man Festival. At the time, I had just graduated college and started a full-time job in Nevada. She lived and worked in Colorado. When we got to talking, I realized I never wanted to stop talking to her. I felt myself falling for her and wishing we lived closer. We exchanged numbers and started talking as soon as the festival ended. Really, she texted me even before I reached my car. We maintained a long-distance relationship for a year before she asked me to move in with her. I found a job in her state and packed my bags. It was only another year before I bought a house and proposed to her. Neither of us had more than 2 family members that kept in touch, so we had a small wedding ceremony with them. Our marriage was just what I wanted and expected it to be. I was convinced I had met the coolest, most suitable and exciting woman I could find. I wanted to love her forever, and she said the same to me. Before I moved in with her, she wasn't a very tidy person, but she made it a goal of hers to keep a clean, organized home for us. By the time we moved into our house, she was a wonderful housekeeper and a woman worthy of being a wife. She also really enjoyed her full-time job, working for a boss that was also her best friend. I heard a lot of great things about Tiffany. They met in college and remained close until Tiffany's business was well enough off the ground that she could hire people. My wife was there for her and proved herself to be an excellent employee. Since my wife was there from the start, she made a generous salary. I never met Tiffany, but my wife and her went out together every once in a while to blow off work steam, they'd say. About 4 years after we were married, I noticed my wife was holding her phone a lot. More than she used to. She started holding onto it or keeping it in her pockets. I seriously doubted this meant anything bad, because my wife was still just as sweet and attentive as she always was. Looking back on it, she might have been even more sweet and attentive than usual. On one ordinary Friday evening, she texted me that she was going out with Tiffany. I replied that I would meet my brother for dinner and see her at home by 9:1. Left the house to meet him, but he canceled plans. I returned home and went straight to the bathroom before turning any lights on. While I was in there, I heard the front door open and 2 voices. I turned off the bathroom light and listened. I heard my wife giggle and open the back sliding door, then I heard a man's voice. I watched them from within the shadows of the house. They stripped off their clothes and jumped in the pool. They frolicked and splashed around for a bit before they started making out and having sex. I grabbed the man's pants, found his wallet, and took his ID. His last name sounded familiar. I got in my car and drove to his house. I knocked on the door and was greeted by a gorgeous woman. I handed her her husband's ID and told her what he was doing at my house with my wife. She didn't want to believe it at first, but as it sunk in she became devastated. She started cursing and grabbing anything of his to throw outside. She invited me to wait with her inside for him to return home. I didn't really want to, but I also didn't want to go home. So we waited. He arrived home and his wife handed him his ID. He was confused, and even more so when I stepped forward. I told him I found that in his wallet, in his pants, after he stripped for my wife. His jaw dropped, and he just looked between us before getting frustrated and embarrassed, asking what was going to happen now. His wife kicked him out right in front of me. I wanted to leave, but she took a moment from yelling to ask me to stay. Once he was out of the house, she sat down with me and apologized for what happened, on behalf of her husband and my wife. We got to talking and it didn't take long for me to realize this was Tiffany. This was my wife's best friend and boss. I freaked out, and told her who my wife was. She could not believe it. She called my wife and told her she needed her to come over right away. When she got there, we both confronted her, telling her she just cheated on me with her best friend's husband. My wife freaked out, crying, swearing that she didn't know he was her husband. She looked at me and pleaded for me to believe that this was just a meaningless mistake. She said they had met at a bar and that he wasn't wearing a ring. I asked her when and why she was even at a bar alone, but then I said it didn't matter. And it didn't matter how sorry she was, because she still willingly brought another man into my house and slept with him. Tiffany said even if my wife didn't know he was her husband, she was not the kind of friend or employee she needed in her life. My wife was broken in that instant. She didn't know what to do with herself. She just kept pleading with empty words. I told her to move out of my house. Tiffany invited me back inside. She screamed after us and even banged on the door. Eventually she was moved out of my house and the divorce was final. She was a huge waste of my time, but if it weren't for her, I never would have met my current wife of 12 years. Tiffany. Our exes didn't stay together after this. Their relationship was based entirely on fleeting emotions, infatuation, and excitement.